Hello and welcome to Joy in Our Town. I'm your host, Tammy Johnson. Joy in Our Town brings you the issues and problems that are faced in the local community with the hope of finding solutions. Our guest for this segment is Stacy Fronaple Hassan, Chief of Problem Gambling Services for the Ohio Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services, and Bruce Jones, Coordinator of Gambling Prevention Program for Maryhaven. They join us today to discuss the negative effects of problem gambling, along with the potential consequences associated with this issue. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
So we're going to start with you. Stacy, tell us a little bit about your history with the state of Ohio.
Well, it's been 15 years since I've worked for the state of Ohio, and I have done a lot of work on the communication side of public health campaigns and messaging. So when I had the opportunity to take over the problem gambling area, I was very excited to do that because one of the biggest needs in that area is getting the word out and helping people understand what problem gambling is, what it looks like, and how you can get help if you have an issue.
Awesome. And Bruce, how about you?
Well, I've been with Maryhaven for almost 15 years now, and for the last 5, I've started the gambling intervention program, and our latest model is one more chance.
Okay.
So we deal with offering free services to folks in Franklin County, offer prevention and treatment.
Okay. Wow, you guys, that's a powerful team. So we'll start with you when I ask you, tell us what gambling is. What is the definition for gambling, and how does one know if they have a problem?
Well, the definition of gambling is any time you put something of value at risk on a chance of gaining something more.
Wow. And that's it? Is that simple?
That's gambling.
So how does it become an issue?
The issue comes when the consequences start, when you take from the entertainment value of gambling, which is the #1 entertainment in the world, is when if you start lying to your family, stealing money, and it's no longer about fun, it's about making money. And it causes many problems within the family, and I'm sure we'll get into that a little later.
Well, yeah, we can talk about it now because you said a mouthful because it is the #1.
It is. Gambling's a hidden addiction. People can go a long period of time without being detected, and by the time they do come for help, you know, they've maybe lied or lost relationships, maybe housing, cars to some of these payday loan, title loan places, in debt, that sometimes suicide becomes a very viable option for these folks.
And it's a shame, too, how something that's meant to be fun can be taken so far. Do you know what that looks like for someone that may not be sure if they have a problem? How would they know? Or is it usually detected by someone else?
They would know, but there's so many tools and testing things out there for self-testing that if they were thinking they might have a problem, that they could find out for themselves. Even at the gambling establishments, they have ways of, you know, giving information out, and that's through our prevention efforts as well.
Okay.
Letting people aware of our services.
Kind of like alcohol, is there like a treatment or like a step program that can help someone,
Yes.
overcome that addiction?
Yes. In the community, Gamblers Anonymous has been around for quite some time, but people can find community support in that. But we find that a lot of times they need more education and treatment and working, because it's not always about the money or the gambling, it's why they gamble. Are they escaping, their lives to find enjoyment, other places than home?
And so gambling, does it just, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're talking about all kinds of gambling. You're talking about lottery, you're talking about casino. Are there other types of gambling?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And it's a cultural thing as well. I mean, different cultures have different forms of gambling. But you have sports betting.
Okay.
Bingo.
Bingo, yeah, bingo, big one. You have the internet cafe kind of places. Kids, they're our #1 at risk right now in the community. 18 to 25-year-olds that, they may be playing, I like your shoes. I'll play you basketball for, if I win, I get your shoes. Or pitching quarters or little football pools. So many offices still do it.
Wow. So what do you do? How do you start that process of healing and overcoming that?
A screening or an assessment, and we always screen for lethality because of the high correlation with suicide and ideation. So once they identify it themselves and they agree that they have a gambling disorder, then we have treatment manuals that we can follow, or just the motivational interviewing or cognitive behavioral therapy that we work them through the process.
Wow. And how does your department play a part in this process with him?
Well, the department is mental health and addiction services, and our focus is on all what we call behavioral health. So those are, in many cases, choices that folks make in the very beginning. But over time, a lot of things come into play. It's an individual's environment, it's brain chemistry, it's literally kind of what turns somebody on. Sometimes gamblers aren't even as excited about the money as they are about what they call action. They love the lights and the sounds of the slot machines.
Okay.
And we also have in Ohio what we call video lottery terminals, which are pretty much slot machines.
Okay.
And there's an amazing science behind those. They've been designed to hook the person
Right.
with all of that, entertainment and lights and buzzing and bells. So everything that the department does is focused on preventing those addictions from taking hold, and the things that come with them, like anxiety, depression, those pieces that can lead to suicide, as Bruce is mentioning. And then we also have the whole treatment side of our service system, which is statewide. There are some rural areas where someone might be half an hour, 45 minutes away from care, but we try to make sure that there's accessible services for everyone. We're actually working on more of the teleconferencing services for folks that really are kind of unconnected to anything in their communities. We have that in some areas stronger than others as well.
Okay.
But that's what we do with the tax dollars that come in from gambling. We put those out to the community to make sure that there are services available for people who need them.
Wow. It's sad, and you keep mentioning, that sometimes the outcome it could be as drastic as suicide. Tell us a little bit about that. That might be a question for you.
Well, it's not always about the money. Though a lot of people are in debt or have gone through their savings, or just, maybe not able to pay the rent. But it's the other things that come along with it. If they're in a relationship, it's the lying, it's the deceit, it's the time away from home.
Right.
So it affects relationships. And that brings on anxiety, the depression.
Right.
So that's why I'm saying it's not just the gambling, it's a whole package deal.
Right. And that makes a lot of sense, because when you're deceived, you don't know what's happening. You're just kind of going through that motion.
And people, when they do find out, they're blindsided.
Right.
And, it's a family problem. It's a family disease.
So the campaign, Be the 95%, tell us a little bit about that. Be the 95%. What does that mean?
The statistics in Ohio, it's about 5% of individuals who are going to be at some level of risk for problem gambling. And 95% of people, if they gamble, they do it in a responsible manner. They pay their bills first. They only gamble with money that is entertainment,
Okay.
sort of a set aside.
And that's healthy.
That's healthy. They don't drink, and
While
get
they're
all
gambling.
buzzed up or high and then go gamble.
Right.
So they actually do it in a fun way. It's called a social norming campaign. In other words, the norm in society is, and in Ohio, 95% of people, if they gamble safely.
Okay.
Understanding there's always that risk about it. But there are that 5%, and so we have a campaign that lets people know how to gamble responsibly and what to look for in that other 5%.
Okay.
And it's pointed at folks like us who we call the influencers in people's lives. We might be moms, dads, siblings,
Right.
spouses. And you know what, honey, you haven't been spending any time with us
Right.
over
Throwing
the
that out
last
there.
few months. Right. We don't know where you are lately. And also I notice our credit cards are maxed out.
Right.
So, here's the 1-800 number, which is 1-800-589-9966. You can call there. They can counsel you. They can tell you where to get help in your community. Maryhaven is one of those places that we, send folks here in Central Ohio.
Okay.
So we're trying to reach the influencers, provide them education about preventing problem gambling and how to help the people that
Wow.
need help.
And that's amazing that you guys do that, especially, as the team that you are. So someone that may think that they have that problem and they call this number, what does that process look like for them if they make that call?
They'll ask them where they live in terms of being able to connect them to local services. But they'll also talk to them. They'll find out for sure whether or not they're thinking about anything drastic, like hurting themselves. They'll get some sense of how serious the problem is. They are crisis and referral folks. It's a 211 center, actually.
Okay.
And where it is right now is out of the 211 in Cleveland.
Okay.
And that moves around a little bit over the years, but that's their role, information and referral. So we want to make sure that you're okay, and then we want to send you to services in your community.
Right. And they can take advantage of that immediately if they feel like they have a problem. They don't have to wait. Are they assessed in any way? I know you said they kind of try to see where they are in that addiction.
On
If
that
they-
phone call,
the
yes,
phone call.
but then
they'd also have other family members maybe calling to get the information.
Okay.
So when they would call us at 324-5425, or on our website, it's Maryhaven One More Chance, and we have screening and testing there, but they can actually schedule in a time.
Wow.
And we're fortunate that we can usually get them in either the same day or the next day, just to talk.
Just to talk. Awesome. I mean, we're out of time, but that is so amazing what you guys do. We really appreciate you being here on the show to give our viewers some information about where to go if they have a gambling issue.
Thank you for
thank you so
inviting
much
us.
for the opportunity.
You're welcome. Stay with us. We'll be right back.